Yeah, there it goes. Oh, you're dead silent there for a minute. Wonder what changed. Well, that was dumb. Alright, then desktop audio is also having a problem. Something must have changed a minute ago. There. Now we're getting it all. Goofy. I had to restart my computer a little while ago, and of course it resets all the defaults for all of my audio. Wouldn't you know it? Anyway, I had been saying that I was hoping that everybody's having a good evening, and also that we are just waiting on Bill, because he had to do and take care of something real fast, so we kind of delayed a little bit. And then I might just put the sucker on pause just long enough to be able to wait for him to show up. If it takes another minute or two. Yeah, okay. That looks like we're doing pretty good now. We got the audio running and all that fun business. Excellent. So this is episode 2 of the 13th floor, and it should be a good one. I'm hoping that we get to push into some interesting parts, because it's only going to be like kind of like the first deep dive into some of the supernatural horror that's been created for this. So I am eager to get it going. Okay, so no sign of him yet, so what I'll do is I'll just put this very briefly on pause as soon as I can manage to pull this through. Gonna have to go through and do this from scratchy scratch. Here we go. Always good. I could actually leave this on for an extended period of time. It's actually probably not so good. I could just do this while working. That's not what I want. I want... Here we go. Now it's going to be a matter of whether or not I can remember how to get this going. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. No, it's not those. Here. I think we'll do that one. Yeah, we'll do that one. Gotta go through here and rename it, so I realize this slightly different. Gotta create this stuff, never figured I'd need to do it, but since I've started to go completely and utterly on with doing tabletop role-playing games the entire way through, since that seems to be kind of my major source of interest, I gotta create this thing, because it may happen. You never know. There we go. Let's do green again. Not that one. Here we go. Oh, that's wrong one. Hold on. Gotta find the right. Here we go. Now we're talking. Yeah.
Yo.
Hey, Bill. Just in time.
Right? Just finished reading some of the Poetic Edda to Corwin tonight.
Oh, really? He enjoying that?
Yeah. Reading to him.
What was that though?
Enjoys me reading it more than anything else. 5-year-old doesn't
Yeah.
really register.
He's got complicated, genius-like concepts going on. Nobody ever knew.
Right. This music.
It's like we're in the elevator.
God, don't. Worse. The hellscape or the music?
How was your day, man? How'd it go?
Dealing.
Fair enough.
But we're moving in a positive direction, so I got no complaints there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, there we go. There we go.
Hmm. Oh, Echelon 1, the Labyrinth. Oh. Yeah, he's gonna love this.
Yeah, got a little bit put in there for it.
What the fuck do we do with mazes again? Oh yeah, NASCAR. Right turn, right turn, right turn.
He's making another left turn. He's making another left turn. All right. Well, Katie Rady. Well, let's see here. Not much else for it. So you went through and investigated a missing persons report, even though it wasn't necessarily in your purview per se, given the fact that you were more homicide than anything else. But you've investigated the issue and found out that there was a strong element of extraordinary and terrifying mixed in with everything else.
Yeah. And he was doing his whole detective thing. He got the questions. He was going to do further research. And then he had a good Samaritan moment. And just like every other goddamn good Samaritan moment that Jim has, it bit him in the ass. So the one thing he's probably going to be bitching about the most if he lives through this is like, you try to help somebody, and then they fuck you. Because that's Night City. Everybody wants to right up the ass. Try to do something nice for somebody, and then a man with no eyes shoves you into a fucking elevator. Jim? Yes, sir? Need you to take a few days off. So, if he gets that conversation.
Right. We're only planning for the future here. Got to anticipate that things are going to go well.
I mean, it's shadows. Let me switch my camera real quick.
No problem. I'm actually going to go and grab something here, and then we can dive right back in and see what he's got going on.
Yeah, he's locked up.
Yep.
So he's determined that, there's blood on the tables. They look like stone office worker desks.
Yeah, which
There's
is the
a
odd
door
part.
with a giant mouth of stone teeth, because the elevator's not going to get him where he needs to be, and he pretty much only sees himself as having one direction. And since he still needs to, on principle, find these people, he's still got a job to do.
Yes,
and
he does.
It doesn't matter how strange or how bizarre or how lethal it is. He has a job to do, and that is his sense of duty that's kicking in. And he's faultlessly honest, so he's honest with himself. He can't be anything other than he is, which is he's just a good man who will do what he needs to do or die trying.
Yes, indeed. He's the kind of he's the hero that Night City needs.
And the hero he most certainly does not want to be. You're a hero, Jim Gordon. Ah, fuck that bullshit. God damn it, just give me the key and get over with it. Brought to you by oat milk. The only thing that'll settle anything.
Holy crap. Alright. Yep, I do believe we are square and ready to go. Hopefully we don't have any frame rate issues. Apparently there were some last night, but
yeah. Well, so he just kind of lets the sling go down just a little bit and relaxes the shotgun in his hand, and he goes into his trench coat pocket, pulls out a flask. Now in the flask is not actually whiskey.
Right.
It's Pepto-Bismol. He keeps Pepto-Bismol in a whiskey flask. So as he knocks back the fluid, the pink sludge just goes in his mouth, and he just kind of swishes it around, gargles it a little bit, and then drinks the rest of the Pepto-Bismol, caps it, puts it back in his pocket, and goes, and this is why I have fucking ulcers.
There we go. Need to get my dice ready. Okay. Wake up, camera. There it is. Alright, well, yeah, you've got these desks. You don't really know what the deal with them is. There is, for certain, a kind of... I don't know, the whole damn place is hellish. I mean, you've got your flashlight kind of keeping things at bay, but it's... and the doorway, like I said, super intricate with the way it looks. It looks like it's multiple stone slats all thrown together.
19 investigation. Just kind of roll that into it.
Yep. What you find is that the door has a very complex mechanized system of operation. There doesn't seem to be much of a way to get through it in normal terms, so you're kind of like looking around for some means of entry. That's when you find that there is something of a trail, similar to what was on those desks. There is this minor trail that goes from one of them to where the wall would be beside the doorway to its right, following up one of these more serrated teeth that are kind of coming up. Stops at about chest height, like right at the bottom rib from where you're standing.
He looks, and honestly, it's the stupidest thing that goes through his head. He's just like, fucking his dick. So he's looking around for like something pokey.
Yeah.
That's long enough that he can, because he doesn't trust anything here. And as far as
I wouldn't either.
As far as he's concerned, those are bloodstains.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh yeah, get into an elevator, go to sacrificial archers onto corporate greed. Sacrifice to corporate greed. That's a good one, Gordon.
My player hater dice are in a fucking mood. Well, there's a damn good chance that you'll probably have something like a Leatherman pocket knife or some other doodad of that sort. You could use that because there are no sticks in here.
Okay.
No way to prod or push.
Okay, so we're gonna do an awareness roll. And the awareness roll is going to be centered around traps. 21. So as he's investigating and he's kind of probing things.
If you keep the same roll, what would your basic security push through? Because that's actually what you'd use for that.
He has advanced tech, basic tech, and e-security.
Okay, so you would want to do a basic tech roll on that because you're investigating the technological element to see if there's a mechanical trap. So you can use the same exact roll you had, just apply it to your basic tech.
Okay, well, that's 13 versus a 9, so minus 4 from that.
From 21?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be 17.
Yeah, so 17 basic tech then.
Yeah. That would... There doesn't appear to be anything that would indicate a trap that you know of.
Mm-hmm.
The trail stops there at the midpoint. It looks like there's a subtle protrusion coming from the stonework. So it looks like it could be a switch button or some other kind of levers. It seems to be a trigger of some kind.
Well, what he's going to do is he's actually going to put the lever them back into his base coat, and he's just going to use the butt of the stock of the shotgun
Yep.
to press the lever.
Sounds good.
And then once he does that, he's gonna he's gonna press it and then go back into like a ready position.
Oh,
And
absolutely, yeah.
So he's gonna keep his awareness keyed up to everything that's around him too.
Yeah, so you press, you hear this kind of harsh click in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is that the slats move upward or downward, sliding against each other, making loud noises. Because the stonework is just grinding on each other as it's coming open. When it does eventually expose the tunnel going in, you realize that the slats themselves are sort of like sharp in their appearance at the ends, and when they fully retract, it just looks like an open maw.
He shines the light from the shotgun into there.
Yep. There doesn't seem to be much of anything. You're just looking at an old stone hallway. It goes down fairly deep. It's not descending, but it's definitely pushed back in. The light from where you're shining doesn't pitch all the way back down to the end of it. So you'll be walking this narrow corridor for a little bit. There aren't any other exits, doorways, or any kind of entrances, nothing that you can see. Just one long arched hall.
Just well, my divorce was uglier than this shit. And she had more teeth. So he just kind of...
He got the jokes. Any way that you can keep yourself on top of it, man. That's how...
Yeah, she had more teeth and took more out of my ass than this will. So he just kind of advances forward. But as he advances forward, he kind of goes on to, he just does like this with his data slate. He just like pulls up and like taps with his pinky finger, shotgun still like right there.
Yeah.
So he can like pull right there like that. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And
No, yeah, because what you can do is you can actually have it high ready, like going across, and you can leave the butt of the shotgun here, and you can reach over the top, and you can mess with whatever you need to, keeping the shotgun high ready, and you can come back.
Yeah, so that's what he's doing. He's just like, okay, doctor said I need to get out more, and then he pulls up a fitness app.
Oh God.
And he pulls up the fitness app because it has a tracking program for tracking his runs.
Fascinating element to work with there.
He says, fuck it. And he says, okay, let's start now. And if anyone were looking over his shoulder, they would see that he typed it real quick. Fuck this trail.
God.
So the fuck this trail is the name of the path he's following. So he's actually just letting the app run and starts recording. The other aspect is he triggers another application to start recording visual from his ocular HUD,
right?
And sound. So he's recording with an ocular program too.
Good stuff. All right, so you start to move through. The hall extends. The masonry work is extremely stable underfoot. You can, every footstep kind of rings off like stone and hard rubber. as you're just moving through and keeping pace. You eventually lose sight of your entry point, having walked down this hall long enough. The sensation that you're kind of like leaving something behind becomes even more dramatically apparent by the time you've got to seeing some kind of light at the other end of it. There's this very narrow slit almost, kind of like a malformed mouth to an alley, but it's a lot more narrow than most alleyways would ever be. Barely shoulder width, and it's, it just barely shoulder width. But it extends upward, and as you emerge into that light, it's where you start to notice that there is a convalescence of light and cloud, almost like smoke up above, but they swirl into very unusual spiral patterns up overhead, and you're not on a floor anymore, you're literally outside. Or at least that's what it feels like. You have what looks to be to you a part of Night City, but how it's portrayed, the buildings are all smashed together, leaving very little room for any kind of maneuverability. There are other super narrow alleyways that you can see as you come putting your foot to the sidewalk. As the buildings extend upward, they twist and contort and become all kinds of odd shapes, becoming less real. You're kind of in this dark dream place. The lights are strange as well. They kind of twist and contort at the tops as they do still point down, but there's a lot more sort of sinister kind of ironwork involved as they hang over arbitrarily in center of the road or to the sidewalk or off to the side altogether, or shining light on buildings. Instead of being useful, they're just sort of sporadic and all over the place. You don't really see a terrible lot at first, but there's a sense that there is much wrong. There is the sight of maybe somebody moving down the street to your right.
So he just kind of like turns off the light, still keeps the shotgun ready.
Yep.
And he did he's going to keep eyes on that person, but he's doing 15 investigation to follow the blood trail.
Well, it seems that the trail has stopped, and when you look behind you, the alleyway is extremely shallow, probably only 10 feet in before it goes to solid wall.
How's the fitness app doing?
Oh, it's registered all of your steps.
Okay, good. He needs the steps count. It says, well, I said the city was going to go to shit. Well, guess it's no stranger than fucking men dressed up as clowns and shooting up people in a pharmaceutical company. This is frankly normal. Huh. Well, outside's finally matched the insides, Night City. Love you, but you're a fucking cesspool.
You've got strange music playing in various parts. It seems to be almost kind of like haunting and coming through from the intersections. No moving cars or anything of that nature. Most anything that's parked looks like it's utterly post-apocalyptic or utterly destroyed or stripped for parts and unusable. While you're wandering on these streets, they take odd directions, not being, the normal straight path. It's this kind of cockeyed moving and swaying all over the place, and with strange hills, this kind of shortly budging up and then coming back down again. For lack of any better term, it's hard to imagine how Night City can become more warped, but you're staring straight at it. Like wood caught in the rain and just bending in all kinds of directions.
How close is that individual that he saw?
He's down at the end of the block, which is a fair distance, so, you move and you get there, and there seems to be more silhouettes, more movement, more peculiarity. You can't really catch sight of facial features. Most of the people that you catch sight of are shifting into or out of light in such a way that you can't quite catch what they are. But they're moving quickly as if they're nervous or scared, or some of them are actually moving in a more deliberate and kind of predatorial sort of way. In a fashion, it's kind of almost an exaggeration, similar to everything else that you see around you, to the people and the behavior that you're used to seeing on the streets anyway. But there is this kind of threat of knowing, like something is aware you're here, and you are suddenly aware that it knows. You have multiple directions that you could head. The intersection opens up into streets, going left, right, and forward onward. No maps or anything like that, no data terms to be found, and the area is alien. When you catch sight of what's in that horizon off in a far, far, far distance down that roadway, it's kind of got this odd green tinge to it that's kind of spilling out across that same sort of chaotic sky. This is... yeah.
Has anybody acknowledged his presence?
Nobody's getting close enough to even try it. They're off in the distance, always kind of catching sight of you, shifting and moving and staying out of sight.
Well, he looks for somebody who's not going to be flinching away from him so that he can address them.
Alright, do you choose a direction? Which way do you go?
Yeah, I'll lean to the right anyway. Just kind of goes off to the right, and he's just gonna be looking. Let's use human perception.
Okay.
To track somebody who can speak to. 22.
Alright, so you just keep trying to get somebody's attention, moving in those directions. Taking a right, moving further down, you kind of see that there are others that kind of catch wind of where you are. You go for a while. It feels like there's maybe, I don't know, probably about a mile and a half. Just walking through, passing several blocks along the way, trying to get a concept as to what is going on, and not really having much luck. When you encounter certain things that are more interesting once you've gotten this far, you haven't deviated, you've just gone straight. You chose your right-hand path and moved forward. Intersections have come and gone, and you keep seeing them just sort of, that's probably about the only thing that really carries a pattern, is that every single intersection is roughly the same distance apart, offering up the same three choices if you're wanting to continue forward, left, right, or straight, also offering the ability to go backward, but it's you're just kind of aware of the fact that it's symmetrical in its asymmetry. When you take note that there are entry points now, odd, narrow doors sharing that same sort of premise of being only just barely like shoulder width apart. Some of these structures now are starting to show doors into or out of the buildings.
He looks for a building that looks like maybe like a courthouse or a district precinct.
Well, you don't quite catch anything quite like that. But you do approach after another sort of distance walk trying to get somebody. The doorway that leads into that structure has these really kind of gothic-like engravings all over it, and it's narrow. There are sounds kind of like chittering in the area, like something with small and tiny spiky legs just kind of moving along. The door begins to actually open up whenever you start to pay attention to that noise. So the door you're standing in front of actually starts to pitch inward. It opens inside.
No, Jim, that's not concerning. Not at all. No, Captain. It's perfectly okay that I take a job like this. It'll be easy, just the missing persons. Fucking hell, I don't get paid enough for this.
All
Yeah,
right.
Jim. No, now you're talking to yourself. Huh. Yeah. Nothing to it. And then he just walks into the doorway.
Oh wow, brave soul. All right. So you go walking into this doorway. When you come inside, you expect the door to open up, but that's extraordinarily narrow, like path is pretty much long before you. When you come inside, the door whips back, like whips closed. You still have your shotgun and the light, but there's no way you're going to be able to turn without like doing this number where you could basically raise the gun up and go backward because you can't even
Mm-hmm.
turn left or right without being snagged.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you come through, and again, you're just kind of put in this position in an almost kind of claustrophobic sort of way where you have to move forward. You really don't have much choice going back. You come into this room, maybe 30 steps, which seems like forever. And again, light sort of softly spills through that primary crack that you find yourself pushing through. And there's a room with a single lamp just sitting in the far corner. There seems to be something almost homey about this space in a sense. There's a rug on the floor, but it's dysfunctional and fractious because all of the homey elements are juxtaposed to pipes and almost like cellar, boiler room, or basement in its comparison. The air is sort of more warm than it should be, and the couch and the rest of the furniture in here are dilapidated. The lamp that's putting off the light is just enough to kind of give illumination to every corner. There doesn't seem to be really much of a way out that you notice when you first immediately come in. You still hear that kind of chittering noise, but there is just a small, what looks to be like a small little pad like you'd use for like watching holo TV or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else seems to be in here, but if you want to make an awareness.
Oh yeah. I've been doing a lot of those.
Yep.
15.
All right. You happen to notice something in the far corner to your left above the lamp for a brief moment. Something was there, and then the corner goes to normal. It was kind of glossy. Can't really be sure what it was, but it was there for a second, and now it's gone. Whenever it disappears, you feel a pressure leave you, almost like you were being, I don't know, watched perhaps. But the second that it dissipates, you don't feel that pressure on yourself anymore.
He says, "No, no, this is okay. Yeah, just like my honeymoon. A lot more screaming then."
Jesus Christ.
So he's gonna focus on the data pad, but he's also gonna do an investigation roll
Go
to
for
see
it.
if there's anything else of note.
Yeah.
Because his mindset at this point is to find what he needs and get back into the street. He doesn't want to be here in this room again.
Yep.
20.
All right. So you start pushing through, and you start taking a look at everything going underneath the couch cushions, all of it. No signs of insects, bugs, no signs of life, but clear damage that would come from something like that. Almost like the moisture in the room has made things a lot more, basically caused a decay and a lot of like some kind of like festering mold that's in everything. So it doesn't really fit as being comfortable to sit on. When you get to the lamp and the nightstand and the sort of hollow emitter, you realize it's got power and you start trying to punch up whatever it's there.
Okay, so we'll do Basic tech or advanced tech?
Just basic.
Basic tech.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're gonna use lucky. No, we're not. He can't see shit. He's only got 2 luck. I'm not gonna push that one.
Wow. Oh, jeez. Didn't realize select was so low.
He's got 2.
Yeah.
He's got goodwill for a beginning character, but
Yeah. Well, he's
I mean,
playing on a
if
hard mode with such a low luck.
if he was lucky, would he be in his job?
I mean, kind of fair point. Um, when you turn it on, you just hear this woman's voice. There's not really a lot of audio. You see the holographic display, pitch up, and it's wide enough. It's only about 8 inches across, and you're just listening to this audio recording. And there's a lot of heavy breathing, like somebody who's kind of like scared, nervous, or otherwise worried. Um, and all shortly thereafter, there are these high-pitched screams of this woman's desperate call to find someone, just like screaming out, why did we leave him, why isn't he here? And he keeps coming in over and over and over again until the audio cuts out and the hollow stops.
He's gonna do some e-security
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of see if there is any like thing other than the program.
Sure. Ooh.
Alrighty, so basically that's a 19 with a crit.
Yeah. Got 12 on the dice, for crying out loud. Well, you go through. There doesn't seem to be any security protocols that are in your way. You might be able to pull whatever's in here. The data and the rest of it shows as being real. So you might be able to take it.
He pulls the data.
All right, gets recorded. Smart Brace registers the recording. Well, that seems to be the only thing of note in here.
Well, that's good. And then he just kind of and then he says like, we're leaving.
Yep.
And then he just kind of backs out.
Yep. So you're putting your back to your entry point and going backwards, or?
Yeah, he's just kind of keeping his gun towards the room so that so if he needs to, he can quick draw his basically 45 like this.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Because he's got it holstered here.
Yep.
So he's right here. If he needs to, he's got shotgun for the room and then 45, the 911 for the doorway.
Yep.
So that's how he's doing it. He's keeping his hand close enough where his grip's right here so he can just drop it, pull. Like
Yep.
that.
All right. So you go backing out. You push through this tiny little hallway, and even if you aren't trying to, or even if you're, um, you know, even if you are skilled, experienced, and the rest of it, this is something else. Um, Go ahead and make a cool essence check, at least for now, because again, you're kind of navigating a space that doesn't make any sense.
What's the target?
7, at least for now. Wow, you're kicking the living shit out of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to roll another one. He's good.
Why would you? Um, yeah. As far as that goes, I mean, you're keeping your head level in spite of everything that you're exposed to, and especially given the fact that whenever you finally come free of the wall, you find yourself back in the exact same room that you started in.
Well, that's not fair. Ugh. It's like those old video games, linear progression. Fuck this bullshit. Knew those games were sinister now. Doesn't make any sense they wouldn't be sinister now. And he does an investigation again to see if there's any other exits outside of that doorway.
Nope, you don't find anything. And the one definitive
Any
change,
windows?
no, it's like you're underground, like you're in a basement, because it's, solid concrete overhead, solid concrete on the sides with piping coming through. Sounds like water and something is going through it all, something liquid. You've got the lamp in the corner. The only real missing difference now is that the hollow that you had just pulled all your data from isn't in this version. If you want to make another awareness check.
Yeah, we're just going to do awareness and investigation at the same time.
Yeah.
Because his mind's clicking over into that mode. So as failed his awareness, but he has a 17 on his investigation.
Yep. Well, again, you kind of go through. You find something interesting under one of the cushions in here. It kind of looks like maybe an employee card or something similar. Can't really read anything. There's no image that you can really figure out. Most of it's muddled and completely distorted.
And again, at this point, he just kind of doesn't have any symbols, like corporate symbols that he could see,
Well, it's likely that
even
it's
if
got
it's
some kind
muddled.
of functioning, like if you run a scan over it with your smart brace, you will detect that
Mm-hmm.
there is a light RF frequency coming off of it. Excuse me, or a light RF signal, meaning that it's used in, super traditional key locks.
And it's like, yeah, but it's in his pocket. Never know. um, is there any windows?
No, like I said, there's
Not.
no windows, no ventilation of any kind. Sorry, the air is not stale, surprisingly though. But like I said, all of the elements in here seem crisscrossed, kind of like you're sitting in some sort of boiler room that was turned into a living room for whatever reason. And like I said, the single lamp is the only point of illumination at this point.
Well, one thing changes every time we leave. Let's see if the pattern repeats. And he does the exact same thing. He goes, tries to leave, and
Okay.
sees what happens.
All right. So you're backing out. You come into contact with something solid this time. Whenever you're trying to move your way through, it feels
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a door.
He just basically kind of, he's like this, so he kind of reaches down for his pocket light
Yep.
and kind of shines it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it definitely looks like the door or a door.
Is there like a handle?
Oh yeah, there's like a lever handle.
No, he'll just have the light here, letting the relax, and he'll open the door and try to.
All right. You push it open. When you step out, there's a small there's a stairway that leads down only 2 steps in. You're in a different part of what this twisted city was. You're not on the street where you came in, but that's not unexpected at this point. What is interesting is that you're now on a very large, like 8 lane overpass of a sort. Multiple cars and vehicles and things like that are kind of strewn in just about every way you could imagine, kind of like they're stuck in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more motion and movement in the nearer distance at this point that you couldn't get to before. What your
Yes.
yeah, like with the cars though, they're still in that same decrepit condition.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously not drivable in any capacity. When you're emerging from this, you take a look to your right on this incredibly large, like I said, 8 lane like overpass, cutting through almost like a standard highway, going towards Night City, and then it has a broken, like the whole thing is just shattered apart on your left, leaving nothing more than just broken asphalt and no way to get past that direction. So you're being led forward at this point. But the figures that are moving don't move right. They're kind of like herky jerky, almost like they're short a few frames if you were looking at this through a camera lens. They're just kind of shifting about, but they're also doing very strange stuff, almost like they're trying to clean things up.
Well, I mean, meth heads do tend to be chatty. And he starts walking towards the what he assumes is just a bunch of druggies on the street, just doing their thing. He's trying not to think too hard at this point.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, you're moving through.
And as he's doing it, we're gonna do an investigation roll. So he'll shine his light into the cars to see if there's anything of interest.
Sure.
18.
It's
So he
fine.
just kind of peeks in, moves on,
You actually
peeks
find
in,
a small
moves
bundle
in.
of road flares, two of them, as you're moving across, like in one of the open trunks. It's kind of like a roadside assistance kit, but you see two road flares in there.
He takes them. And then he sips a little bit more of his Pepto Bismol.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you keep moving down. When you get up close to these things, they're anywhere between 5'5" and 5'8", sometimes a little taller, almost 6 feet in certain cases, and they're moving arbitrarily between cars and streets. You can see that they have certain implements or tools. Some of them, well, actually, most of them don't really seem to make sense. It's almost like they're cleaning, but they're kind of doing the opposite. When you start to get a look at them, they have no clothing on of any kind. They don't seem to have any sense of your presence, at least for the moment. And whenever they are doing what they're doing, one in particular has like this crowbar that's really long, like
Mm-hmm.
probably about the length of a broom. And he's moving it around at an easy pace, but he's grinding it on like the ground and kind of making maybe designs, but it's like he's almost just gouging parts of the concrete out, like this is something functional or something you're supposed to do. But the the skin, you notice, is that sort of god awful grayish color. It doesn't seem to have that kind of life to it. I mean, you kind of sink in a little bit. You're just kind of like, oh, like it's becoming apparent that whatever it is that you're encountering isn't human, like at all.
Have they noticed him?
They don't seem to have. You're 50 feet away. You're kind of keeping distance. You're not moving fast.
Mm-hmm. Let's do an awareness roll.
Okay.
He's looking for other potential paths because that seems a little too creepy even for him.
He doesn't have a joke.
16.
All right. Well, you
He
can.
just kind of goes, and nope.
Yeah. All right. So when you start to look for a different way or a different route, there's pretty much the only way is forward, but you can start circumnavigating throughout the vehicles, keeping a low profile, shifting and moving, and trying to keep yourself out of sight.
Which is what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So I
All right.
guess we'll do,
Stealth.
okay, stealth.
Yep.
That's just going to be a D10 then.
Yep. Can't help it. Just got to do your best.
Mm-hmm. I was actually going to do survival for navigating. Would that be applicable?
Well, survival might be really good for like planning your route, but it
Okay.
won't help you when you're trying to stay like out of sight.
Okay, so he wants to plan his route with survival then, too. Okay. 13 planning his route, 3 for stealth.
Right. So, what's your reflex though?
His reflex is 5.
So that stealth that rolls an 8.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't have any ranks and you don't have any synergy bonus, but you do still get your, stat.
Reflex.
Yep.
Okay. From the primary. Okay.
Mhm. Yep. All right. So you start moving through these vehicles trying to stay low as much as you possibly can. You can hear them moving along. When you're a fair distance along this road, this pathway here, and you're cutting across vehicles and keeping them between yourself and these creatures, whatever they are. You've noticed that they have absolutely no facial features of any kind. Their skulls seem to be mildly elongated. They have no mouths, no nose, no eyes, just minor indentations where things are supposed to be.
In his inner monologue is just going, well, there's a faceless worker drone if I've ever seen one.
Let's see here.
I am not going to put this in the report.
You snap like some sort of distant selfie, like with them
Oh,
in the
he's
background.
recording everything.
Oh yeah.
He's recording everything through his ocular, and he's checking to make sure that it actually is recording. It's like, I'm not seeing shit. Goes back to the recording. I am seeing that shit. And moving on.
Yeah. Hold on one second here. I want to find the right. But yeah, you see them kind of moving about. Now they have strange. They have a strange kind of method of communicating because you can hear kind of like these odd tones coming from them, but that only happens whenever they sort of interact with one another. And you notice that their slightly elongated heads shake and vibrate back and forth, but not in a way that a human neck would be able to produce. It's more like what you'd get whenever you see those spring-loaded door stops and you just flick it like this. They shake like that back and forth in a way that's not possible.